Hello and welcome back to The Op, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides and here yet again from Panavision Woodland Hills because it sounds better than the sandbox in the back of the yard. A little bit of a different thing today. I'm here with a good friend Mike Pennick, who is here from Chicago. He's actually out here. What are you out here taking your CSATF
I was doing my aerial lift
aerial
certification class.
So
yeah,
just in
the
case we
last
have
one.
to go up in the air, we'll be very safe right now because we
Yeah.
all know how that is. But the reason this is a little bit of a different episode and that I asked Mike to be here is Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong, so he's a dolly grip. How
Yep.
long were you a dolly grip? How long have you been a dolly grip?
I've been a dolly grip full time for 10 years.
Okay, 10 years.
Yeah.
And our paths crossed in Chicago 2 years ago, I think, Unjustified, 2.5,
Our
whatever.
paths really crossed. You might not remember this, but on a show that John Lindley shot called Electric Dreams back in
Oh, you were there?
maybe
I came in for 2 days.
2016.
That's right.
Yeah, I was the B dolly grip on that show.
Oh,
And
and we were out. Actually, the other reason I don't remember you because we were out in like the woods, so there probably
Yeah.
wasn't even a lot of dolly work there or whatever. I think
Yeah.
that's why I was there. Anyway, okay. Well, there you go. I didn't know that. But our paths crossed on that, and then just recently we did a show, and Mike actually told me very early on that he had gotten into Local 600 because he always wanted to be a camera operator in 2022,
Yes.
and had been like doing days here and there, I guess, where they would come up or whatever, or what? I mean, did you actually get stuff between 2022 and last, what?
I would do some second unit stuff.
Okay.
And then, I have a Steadicam as well. So
Yep.
I was doing indie stuff
Yeah.
with my Steadicam. I had been doing that. I think I got my Steadicam in 2021,
All right.
the full rig. But
Cool.
I had my vest for a while before that. I had been practicing.
Cool. So basically, you'd done some stuff, but like you hadn't really landed a gig as a full-time operator where you're just operating. And then on our show, we had the amazing Gary Maloof on B camera, and he was leaving, and we knew he was leaving, and we decided to give Mike the nod and move him up off of my dolly, unfortunately, to start operating because he was eligible and he was excited, and et cetera, et cetera. So you did 6 weeks. We have 6 weeks.
Yeah, about 6
operating?
weeks.
Okay, and then couple months off, and now you're going back to the show and you'll have 5 months on B camera.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably safe to say, at least at the end of the 5 months, you will be an established operator or whatever, which
I hope so.
Yeah, you will be.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to talk to you about that because like one of the things I said to Mike early on was, I can talk to all these people who've been in here for 30 years about what it was like to like jump in and whatever, but we're all guessing. We don't really remember it. So what was that like to go from being on dolly to being a B camera operator?
It was a dream come true. And I think I told you that before you guys made the decision. And that was, in all sincerity, I went to college for film. And I think that there was a time in college where I had wanted to be a DP.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to DePaul.
Okay.
DePaul
In
University.
Chicago? Yeah. Cool. I
And
think I knew that.
I think that, I think every film school kid has aspirations of where they're going to end their career, but I was very honest about how I wanted to get there.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that, or at least I had the idea that if I was a grip and I learned how to shape light and control light and diffuse light, and then I, became a dolly grip and learned how to move the camera in a conventional sense, and then I became an operator, I would learn all those tools that would allow me to become a good DP.
That's smart. That's really smart.
It was smart, but I don't think it's very practical. And once I got onto bigger sets, once I joined the union and saw what the DP's job was at a macro level, I realized it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Okay,
and then
but that's part of the process too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Look, I directed for a while, and then I was like, I hate this. I mean, I like the part that I like, but the rest of it,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've DP'd a little bit, and it's just like, wait, I'm at lunch. Why do I have to,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of realized that I loved the camera operating position.
Yeah.
At least from afar. I hadn't done a lot of it. I'd operated my own stuff, some
Yep.
shorts and whatnot, and some indie stuff here and there, but I hadn't done it at a union level.
Okay.
But it was something I aspired to be the whole time.
Yeah.
And so for those 10 years as a dolly grip, and I love being a dolly grip. I respect it it's a great position, and I feel like artistically there's a lot to a dolly grip. If you really put yourself into it,
100%.
you can help achieve a lot.
Yeah.
And you can add your own flair to the shots. But the goal was operating. And so I just dug my head into the sand as a dolly grip and said, I'm going to learn as much about this as I can. And I'm going to watch these great operators and take the good from them and, not forget the bad about them.
Which is usually more instructive. Um,
So I've been preparing for a while to make this jump.
okay.
And not that sitting behind an operator as a dolly grip gives you everything you need, but I had a bit of insight as to what I wanted to do and the type of operator
Yeah,
I
no,
would.
but I think that's fair because you're looking over the shoulder of someone. I mean, you're watching them framing constantly, right?
Yeah,
And I'll say this: like when I'm on, if I'm on A camera and B camera's working, and I'm watching the B camera shot, I'm watching what they're doing, and whether you're, I'm not saying this in a bad way. You're constantly critiquing it and going, "Oh, that's so much better than I would have done," or "I wouldn't have done that," or asking yourself why they did that. So I think you're probably doing that all day long as a
yeah,
dolly grip. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So what was the first week like for you of jumping into B camera?
No, nerve-wracking. You know, I have a bad habit of not being able to sleep before the first day of a job.
Yeah, everybody
Um,
does. I hate to
yeah,
break it to you.
and I don't know if I slept the whole week. Just by the end, I was drained. I knew I had to go home on the weekend and just spend the whole weekend decompressing.
But
But
but that said, but specifically, like what was harder than you thought? What was easier than you thought? What came naturally? What did you go, "Oh God, I didn't even know this was part of it"? Because I'm just like I said, there are people who are listening to this who are hopefully on that journey
yeah,
and are have just jumped up, will just jump up, want to jump up
yeah.
like from something into operating. You get put in the hot seat. Like, what's the deal?
I'd say the biggest two things that really struck me was the mental fatigue, for one.
Okay.
I thought I had really mastered mental fatigue as a dolly grip, but I didn't realize the difference between operating and dolly gripping, how much I was allowed to turn my brain off for moments
As a dolly grip,
as
you're
a
saying?
dolly grip,
Okay.
and how that was not an option ever as an operator,
And
even
do
when
you
my
think
camera
that's
was
because you're a new operator, or you just think that's because you're an operator? Like, obviously, when you're newer, there's more to think about.
that's probably something you could give me better insight on. I
Well,
would imagine that that will not change.
yeah.
And as you progress and maybe move up to a camera, I would imagine it gets worse.
It gets worse, and I mean, you get lazy. Actually, you probably never should turn your brain off, but you also like have self-preservation. But I know what you mean. So was it just because was it more you going, I got to think about this and that and the other, and I got to watch the A camera and this and that and the other, or was it I got all this stuff and I'm not quite sure that I'm doing everything I should do? Like I mean, was that part of it as well?
I think there's definitely a sense of, am I doing this to the standard of the people around me,
Uh huh.
and a concern and anxiety of, is this going to be the last chance I get every day? It's like, is someone going to come in and you know tell me that they need to do the shot for me because I didn't achieve it well
Yeah.
enough, or are they going to realize that this was not a good decision, and that they're going to need to find somebody else to fill in for the rest of the show, or they're not going to want to work with me again.
6 weeks of operating. Did you get to the point where you were like, okay, they're not going to replace me?
No, and I don't think that was necessarily because of my lack of abilities. I think that I understand that anybody can be replaced at any time, and
Okay. Yeah.
a lot of this business is the best available. And I hate to say it because I don't necessarily like that term, but at the end of the day, like, we all are the best available people.
Yeah.
And it's not about me, it's about the other person who they're getting to do the job. And so I could see a situation where a DP says, yeah, I gave him the shot and he did a good job, but this guy's available and he's an amazing operator.
Sure.
I don't have to watch over him. I don't have to worry about him. I
Okay.
can just let him do his thing.
But did you get to the point though where you didn't feel like you were going to replace because you were doing a bad job?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
And how long did that take, you think?
6 weeks.
A week after like the show was over.
Yeah. I mean, I would go do the second units and I would do A on them.
Uh-huh.
And I think that there was a bit of like confusion, I think, as far as like booking, as far as who was understanding who was doing what camera. Because a couple of times I would,
Yeah.
as the B operator, be put over as the B operator on the other unit.
Uh-huh.
And then I think everybody realized, oh, like you were supposed to be on A today.
Yeah, and you know the show, so and you know
Right.
the actors and whatever. That's a whole political another thing. But yeah.
Yeah, and I also, I didn't expect to be put on A right away, but I think just with the circumstances of the availability in town and my history with the show,
Sure.
people thought he knows the show, he knows the actors, let's give him the shot.
Yeah.
And I think after my first day of that, and it went well, and I got positive feedback from the directors, the DP of the other unit, and then later on from you and from the DP, the main unit DP, I realized like, okay, I can do this.
Like I can pull it off, or at least I fooled them.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe me, early on, that's a lot of it with me is like, they don't realize, okay, if they don't realize this, I'm going to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there's massive imposter syndrome. I mean, across the board at
Absolutely.
all times.
Yeah.
And what do you remember was there something that surprised you that was harder than you thought? Or you didn't think would be hard and was hard about jumping into B?
Jumping out of B to
No,
A?
no, jumping into B camera,
Into B camera?
that first week.
So I spent a lot of time over the last like 6 or 7 years as an A camera dolly grip. And I've gone and done shows as B, but primarily I've been an A camera guy for the past, say, 6 years straight. And it's a completely different mind state on A than it is on B. And I think I lost the appreciation and kind of the understanding of the workflow of the B camera.
Huh.
And so when I jumped back to B camera, I was, probably nipping at your heels a lot, just being like, where can I get in? What can I do? And it's like, well, maybe you can't get in on this. Yeah. And I hadn't experienced that in my work environment.
Okay.
For such a long time of not doing every shot and being in there and, having to be on the top of the ball constantly and be ready and prepared, that it was hard for me to take that back seat at first.
Uh-huh.
And I found myself.
Let me ask you a question, because from an, and I don't mean this in a negative way, from an egotistical point of view, or from I'm supposed to be doing something and I'm not, like I'm not doing my job point of view?
The latter, for sure.
It just like I'm supposed to be getting a shot. I'm not doing my job if I'm not getting a shot.
Yeah, it was strange to sit back as someone who works on set and not do something.
Yeah, I get that.
And watch.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so I think that was a difficult thing to kind of understand. And I also, I would get anxiety from not working. So if there was a scene or a shot that I wasn't a part of, I would start to worry if I had done something wrong or.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about that. So that gets in your head of like, oh, maybe if Gary was still here, he'd be doing a B camera shot, but they're not having me do it. And also, in fairness, we should say you were jumping in Gary Malouf's shoes, and Gary's unbelievable. I mean, he's
absolutely
an amazing A camera operator who was doing all of us a favor by being the B camera operator. And I mean, he's fantastic.
And Gary has like a uncanny talent at B camera as well.
Yeah, no question.
He's a phenomenal A camera guy, but he also understands how to do that B position so well.
Totally does.
And it's just like everything he gives you is cream on top.
Yep. So how do you not let that cripple you? That gnawing, I'm screwing up simply because you're not doing something.
I kind of had to go back to what I learned earlier on in the film industry when I first got in, is that people's emotions and people's reactions are not about you. And I had to anchor myself into that because I was constantly looking for validation from the DP and from you.
Yeah.
And I might take your reaction as displeasure in my performance. But really, you got your whole life you're thinking about. You got your own shots. there's a lot going through your head. You're tired. It's been a long day. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And so I think I was very reactive to people's moods a
Like
lot.
any kind of negativity, no matter what it is,
Yeah.
or even non-positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passiveness.
Like
You
you
know,
turn
like,
everything into, oh my God, they must hate me.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you do a shot, you don't get any feedback, and you're like, oh, it must have been terrible.
Yeah.
When really it was good. It
Yeah.
was fine.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And so I think after a while of just, and I think, for any operator coming in, not working is going to be something that's going to get to you a little bit at first. And you just kind of have to step back and say, this isn't about me. Let me look at the situation going on and make sure that I'm a person who's, when I am working, I'm adding value.
Yeah.
And that if I'm not working, it's because there's more important things going on. And this isn't the moment for me.
It's not about me. It's about the shot, the show, whatever.
Yeah, it's about the show.
Or the lighting or what. Yeah.
Go stand next to the AOP and bug him until he tells you to go away.
Yeah.
And then stand behind monitors
Yeah.
and be close enough to where if you are going to start working again, someone only has to turn their head and say something to you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of relieved that for me.
So let me ask you a question. So our DP Tico Herrera, who was totally supportive of you doing it and is a great DP, because this is something that I don't know, when I was doing an A camera shot and it was only the A camera shot and you'd be hanging by the monitor early on, would he be sort of pointing things out that he liked and that he didn't like, or would you be asking like to sort of get more zeroed in on what he's looking for from you? Or would you just sort of like be a fly on the wall and
I probably threw out as many annoying questions to him as I did
no,
to
he
you.
probably enjoyed it. I mean,
You
also
know?
you guys were. I mean, you'd already worked together, so you were friends prior. You had a
Sure.
relationship, which is a little different than just coming in blank on a show.
Yeah, it helps.
But so basically, were you basically asking about choices and asking about framing and whatever, so you could zero in on what he wanted more?
Definitely at the beginning. And you guys had made that decision to bump me up, via the support of Gary, yourself, and Tico before you guys let me know and before Gary left. So I had time to kind of
Yeah, that's true.
get that stuff out of the way before I was in the position.
Gotcha.
But, I definitely asked a lot of questions about his look and framing, where he wants characters and overs. And I'd worked with you on the A camera a lot, so I had a lot of that knowledge already
Yeah.
for what your visual sense of it was.
Yeah.
And I just assume always that you and Tico had a conversation about that and you were executing what he wanted.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Because sometimes like something to come up and be like, "Do you like that?" I'd be like, "Yeah, that actually is." Or you'd go, "No, I hate that."
Yeah.
but I and was there more of that you think that sunk into you than you recognized, or you know?
Yeah. I mean, and even with having conversations with other day playing operators that would come and just being able to help them out and
Yeah.
say like, hey, this is how we kind of do it over
Oh
here.
yeah.
And
Sure.
I think a lot of what you were saying, like there's not always that communication. And that's also a difficult part of stepping into the job. And no offense to Tico or any DP out there that I've worked with, but just sometimes they don't have the time to communicate with you
Huh.
what they want. They kind of just looking for your artistic interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And I had got to lean back into what your artistic interpretation was. And I think matching that to me was more important than asking Tico specifically what he wanted.
Just
Only
because you'd
because-
assume it was what he wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I want to make sure that my work as a B camera operator is appropriately reflecting the A camera operator's
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So there's not some big contrast in the two different visual styles.
So we talked about that gnawing, why aren't I working? They must not like me. I should get my stuff off the truck. Was that the biggest hurdle you had to overcome to settle into the position, or maybe not biggest isn't, but were there other hurdles?
There were a couple other hurdles. I mean, that was probably one of the bigger ones for me to be comfortable. But then the mental fatigue, like I talked about, like it's draining, and having to communicate all day long, having to watch what everyone is doing on set, make sure that you're getting the time you need, which is probably my biggest weakness still,
Mm-hmm.
is things are going fast, you're setting up a shot, you're worried about the blocking. You haven't even done a rehearsal with your dolly grip.
Yeah.
And then they're yelling to put the slates in.
Especially the B camera,
And
even less time.
you're like, I
Yeah.
haven't even seen this.
Yeah. So what do you do in that situation as a B camera operator?
It's tough. It depends on, you got to read the room.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles of being a B camera operator is reading that room, figuring out what your place is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you want to fight for what you need, you don't have time.
Yeah.
And if you go out of the way to slow down production at that moment, it's going to look worse than if you mess up the first take.
Yep.
And so I think one of the things you taught me that I try to keep in the forefront of my mind, especially when I'm doing A cameras. Yeah, that, a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
a lot of staying cognizant of what you need before it's happening.
Just getting out ahead of it.
Yeah, getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
And making sure you're communicating with the first AD what you need and that you need a rehearsal and what you are and aren't comfortable with. Because they're going to always push for you to be faster.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you just got to say, hey, look, I need a rehearsal on this.
Yeah.
I need to just see it. I need to see it by the numbers, or I just need to get people in front of the camera real quick, the realies, because I need to make a height adjustment. And you just got to push for that before they're trying to ask for the slate.
That's great. That's great advice. And it's one of the hardest things to do. I remember specifically there were times where I would just go out loud like, hey, we just need quick rehearsal. Let's just do a quick and like it would sort of start the ball rolling. And 9 times out of 10, it was not 9 times out of 10, but some of the time it was because I realized like you had just been thrown in there and hadn't seen anything. And even though you're watching behind the monitor, it's not the same as, suddenly they're pulling your dolly in and you're like, I don't even know where we're moving here and whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is that sort of back and forth, that has to happen. There's no question.
Well, and I was lucky to have you as the AOP teaching me how to do it because I could tell that you have eyes in the back of your head. I'm surprised you could do all the things you do in a day, but let alone also be running the set at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
Thank you.
I noticed a lot of moments where, the water was getting up to my nose and you would jump in and help me out. And a lot of those moments are with communication. And I think being a B camera operator, it's really hard to understand where you fit in the communication chain.
Yep.
You don't want to overstep your A guy. You don't want to be too communicative. You can't tell actors to do things that goes against what the A's camera is setting up. And so, I definitely noticed a couple of times that I was getting in a little bit over my head as far as being able to communicate what I needed. And you would slow things down for me, call things out for me, help making a blocking adjustment. And, at the end of the day, we're a team.
Yeah.
And you looking out for me in that way helped a lot because there's certain moments as the B guy, it was hard for me to find my voice.
I think from what I remember being on B, that was the hardest thing for me was just because it's hard to know when you should make noise and when you should shut up and when you should go, I think I can probably get this done, or there's no way this is going to work and everybody's going to be pissed at me. So it's like constantly weighing, is me speaking up and saying, no, I need a rehearsal, going to be worse than not saying anything and screwing up and everybody going, well, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah.
And that's really that's one of the biggest things. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
And do you think you got to the point where you like have a better grasp of that now after 6 weeks?
I think I have a better grasp of it, but I think that's something that I'm always going to need to work on.
Yeah. Well, it's a constant. There's no knowing it. There's just sort of. Well, I think what you do is you realize that timing is unbelievable, and like you were saying, getting out ahead of things.
Yeah.
So you start to realize that if you slowly plant seeds, just so you know, we're probably going to need a rehearsal on this one, and then. And then at the best case scenario, like you figure everything out and you go, we don't need that rehearsal, and then suddenly like you've just saved the day. When in reality, you've sort of set the deck ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I think there are all those tricks that you learn over time. What about working with the dolly grip? Like, how was that? Because you were a dolly grip, you're working with a dolly grip, and you had Q, who's a good guy and knows what he's doing. Like, was that But I think the reason that I asked was I think when you've been doing something for a while and you're really good at it,
Yeah.
and then you jump into something that you haven't been doing for a while, and you may be good at it, but you're definitely not comfortable at it. I think there's probably a human part of you that goes, well, I'm going to definitely like still keep my hand in the thing I was good at because that makes me feel accomplished and shows people I do know what I'm doing on some level. It's like there's a default sometimes. I've noticed that like focus pullers who come up to operating sometimes will be really hard on their focus pullers.
Yeah.
Just be not even hard, but like very involved just because it's like, no, this is my comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you go to. So I was just wondering uh what that relationship is like when you do that.
I mean, one of my kind of mantras of life is to trust the people around you and surround yourself with people who will help you for success.
100%.
And so I think a part of that is, if you micromanage people too much, then they lose the ability in their brain to think freely because they're just listening to your exact direction and they're waiting for you to tell them what to do next. So they
Mm-hmm.
lose the creativity. And I don't want to do that for my dolly grip. I
Yeah.
don't want to take that away from them. And so I think at first I was very liberal
Oh, really?
in allowing the dolly grip to do everything I would have done.
Ah.
And I realized that I might burn myself a little bit that way, but I found myself throwing a slider on a lot
Yeah.
as an operator
You,
just
you,
to protect against that.
yeah. There are times when it has nothing to do with whether the dolly grip can do it or not. It's just I know the track is outside on the street and they're going to have to come in with this and we're going to have to move that and the slider can come in easily and I can do this move and it is it as good? No. Will it be good enough? Yes. And we have to get out of this location, you know.
Yeah.
And the reality is bringing the slider in takes one person. Bringing the track in and leveling it, it takes like three people or two people. It's just economies of scale. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so well, the other thing I was going to say though was there's micromanaging. No, I asked you about the dolly group, but it's not. It's anybody. There's micromanaging that, yeah, lets people become complacent because they're like, well, if you're going to micromanage me, I'll just wait for you to micromanage me. And why am I?
yeah.
And then there's also micromanaging that I think ends up you miss out on ideas that people have that you haven't had, right?
Right.
And that's the downside. So that's why I mean, hopefully when you were on Dolly, that's why I always I'd go, this is what I want to do. But if you had a better idea, I was always open to it. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would be better, and sometimes it wouldn't be, or we would do it or whatever. What about working with the assistant? Because you hadn't worked with the assistant, your focus puller in that level on that what I mean did sort of talking back and forth to the assistant take time to like figure out that dynamic or was that
Well, I had known Paul for a while.
yeah
And so I know Paul's workflow and I'd also worked with Alex before, not as a second, but I kind of know his personality
uh-huh.
and he's really good at his job. He's just really good at anything he applies himself
Yeah.
to. And I took some advice from a wily old operator I know, and I went right up to Paul on day one and I was just like, hey, you've been looking at monitors a lot longer than I've probably been alive.
That's true.
So if you have any suggestions about my operating, if you have
Cool.
any suggestions about this shot, if you have any suggestions about our workflow, please don't feel afraid to come up to me. Like, we're a team
Smart.
and I need this input from you.
Yeah.
If I mess up a shot, come over and tell me that I messed it up because we're all in this together and I want our shots to be good.
That's great.
And he lit up like a light bulb when I said that. And so I think that just having that quick conversation allowed for our communication to be a lot smoother going forward for the rest of the show. And Paul is, I got lucky because I think that there's assistants that I could work with that I would have to be more communicative towards. But Paul is such a good assistant. He's very low maintenance.
Yeah.
It's like I would tell him something if it was crazy. If we're going to do some crazy move or we're changing the timing drastically. But otherwise, I kind of just let him do his thing.
Yeah.
And then every so often, there would just be little notes of like, hey, Paul, what would you think if we like threw to this first, or we started out of focus
Yep.
completely and let the character walk into focus, just
Yeah.
artistic choices.
Yeah.
And he was always on board to try those. And there was probably a couple of times where he's like, I don't think that worked. And it's like, great, then let's do what
Yeah.
you were doing.
Yeah. And we should say it's Paul DeMart out of Chicago. He's
Yeah.
phenomenal focus puller, great human being. Yeah, you were lucky to be with him, because there are also some assistants, and he may have even been like this. You never know, because it makes sense, where it's just like, oh, great, a new camera operator.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to like, because it's extra work, right? I mean, or potentially extra work. Let's put it that way, depending on how someone ends up being, and nobody knows till you've been in there.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, I felt that way as a dolly grip plenty of times.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things that spurred me on to start operating, was getting a lot of greener operators, on my dolly. And I didn't mind working with them, but I just started to pick up these signs of like, he's messing up here and here and here. And like, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like I have more experience as a dolly grip than these operators I have as operators.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the working relationship was affecting my ability to do my job.
Sure.
So I can imagine.
And Chris Chulak is an executive producer, director, showrunner that I've worked with for years. I used to work with. I haven't worked with him for a while. He used to say you'll learn more by watching people screw up than you'll ever learn by watching people succeed.
Yeah.
Because 90% of the time when people succeed, it's just they succeeded. It's nothing like ground. And 5% of the time you see something unbelievable where you go, oh, that's I really learned. But people screw up all the time, and then you're like, all right, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, and that's absolutely not going to happen. Or when you do it, you're like, I can't believe I just did what that guy just did.
Yeah.
So there's no question about that. And so, what about? Did you read the script every time and read the sides? And I mean, story wise, were you like hardcore about knowing where everything fit in and et cetera, and thinking about the edit and all that stuff?
Yeah, once they start sending me the scripts, I would
that's
read
another
them.
Story.
And I think that
And letting you see dailies.
and let me see dailies.
For anybody who's jumping up, you should be getting scripts and you should be seeing dailies. And if you're not, talk to someone to make sure that happens. Yeah, that was sort of a surprise. But so you're reading the scripts and you're reading the sides to understand where you're coming from, where you're going from, all that stuff.
Yeah. And just, for my entire career and, being in school for it, when I read the scripts, and I'm sure most people do, they visualize how the story is being told. And so I have shots in my head playing while I'm reading it. So I already go into the scene kind of having a feeling of how I would do it.
Yeah.
And then that gets completely dismantled and I see someone else's vision, but it helps me I can think back to what my edits were.
Yep. At least you have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, especially on B camera, when I got to get creative to get a shot in there, it's like, well, what's going to help with this? What's going to actually make this edit? And what's going to be cohesive? And
so you're thinking about the edit, basically. You're looking at the A camera going, I know he's got this and this. They're going to need this piece. Maybe I can grab that.
Yeah. And that's actually, for me, the most important thing about sides is like I could just go back to the scene real quick, read through it, kind of think about the edit, see what pieces we might need. And, you probably know a lot of the times you'll think of a piece and you're like, in the script, it'll read, looks down at his hand holding the picture. And then they never want that shot.
No, exactly.
But it at least puts you on the right track to, once you start seeing what the A camera is doing and seeing what the pieces that are being assembled are, you might try to figure out what the missing piece of that puzzle is.
But I think there's another part of that, like you said, don't we need to see the picture? We'll never use that. Nobody cares, like whatever. But what that does do is it shows the people, director, DP, whoever, that you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Because there's no downside to you bringing it up, even if they go, no, we're never going to. It's a different thing. But then they go, okay, he's reading the story and he's watching what's going on. And then if you do have an idea, where do you go with it? Like your A camera's doing a shot, you don't have anything. You find something that you think could be okay. You've hopefully figured out that it's not going to be a problem with lighting. The gaffer isn't going to have to move all his lights or anything like that. What do you do with that?
I mean, generally, it kind of depends on the mood of the set and the flow and the time of the day. But, I worked a lot with you on, and I'm thankful for you to give me the time and the space to come to you and bounce ideas off of you while you were already setting your shot up. But just run it by you real quick, run it by your A camera real quick to see if it's something that fits. I know we talked about, you know, when you were doing big steady cam shots, I tried never to jump in. And
what
that
was the reason?
I don't want to give them an edit point because
Yeah.
I know that the editor is going to use it. And then you're allowing an editor to become the director.
Yeah.
And or the DP, you know, and I think that you deliver a bunch of files and the editor goes through and they pick the cool ones and they like editing, so they're going to add a lot of edits. And
If they have it, they're going to use it. That's the end of the story.
exactly.
And no, but I remember a couple of times where you'd actually come up to me and go, "Hey, I think this works perfectly fine. I could probably grab this piece, but I don't want them to cut into it. Do you want me to throw it out there?" And I'd go, "No, it's better without it. This all flows like all good." But it showed me that you were paying attention, which is important, and I think that's the right way to do. Because if you go to the director or the DP, or you go to the DP and the director hears it, then it's suddenly like, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and get that because maybe that'll be a good thing. And it's like, well, that's then why are we doing this as one big oneer? Let's cut it up into two parts because you're going to use it anyway. No, so that's invaluable. So you did 6 weeks. You've had what, 2 months off?
Yeah. Oh, well, I haven't really had any time.
Well, you've been working actually. Tell me about that. You've been day playing, right?
Yeah. So I jumped off the show, and I know a lot of people hadn't worked for a long time, and a lot of people still haven't been working. So I didn't really reach out to anybody.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be the guy who jumped out right off of a show and was like, "Hey, you got days for me?"
Yeah, especially when other people are hurting.
Yeah. So, but I was fortunate enough to, you know, 2 shows reached out to me.
That's cool.
And they asked me to come in on C camera. And after my first day on both, they asked me to do the rest of their C camera days.
Well, that's great.
Which is really nice.
That's
and
cool.
it worked out really well because they all fit into the time that I've had off.
So here's a question for you. Our show, you'd been on that show for how long? 4 years or 3 years or something like that?
I mean, as the A Dolly Grip seasons 4, 5, 6 part 1, 6 part 2.
Yeah, so 3 years. So basically, I mean, you're part of that family.
Sure.
And then you go to a world where, you know, maybe the assistants and the camera operator, and just from being around in Chicago, because it's a small town, you probably know a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you're not part of that family. And you basically are like, oh, I got to just be a camera. Like, I got to come in here and just pick it up. What was that? Was there a mental game involved in that? Or did you just slide right in and it was like, all right, I'm going to wait for my orders? And how did that work?
I mean, there's definitely a mental game. And I'm coming in on C camera. So, so it's a different beast. And I know that the people who called me up supported me, and some of them, they're like, "Let's see what you got."
Yeah.
But they at least supported me as colleagues and friends to give me the shot.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't too worried about them, although I did want to impress them. You know, it was a big thing to me to show these people that I've worked with for the past 12, 13 years, like, I can do this as well.
This isn't a fluke. I'm not. Yeah.
And, but you know, all the DPs were from out of town. And so, well, except Drew. I worked with Drew on the Bear, and I know Drew. I've worked with him before.
You know most of that crew, right?
I know. I know all that crew. But I just, I know that they're looking to see if I can do it.
Sure.
And I know that if I can't, they're not going to ask me to come back. You know, and that's just what it is. Your friendships only take you so far.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to do that job, and if you're not up to task, they'll find someone who will.
So was that a big shot in the arm when both of them, even one of them, said like, "Come on back"?
It was huge.
Yeah,
it was huge for me, and it made me. I think I reached out to you, and I was just like, "Thank you so much for everything you've taught me." I think people are recognizing.
Yeah.
The wisdom you passed down to me.
And you still haven't given me that check, but that's okay.
I'm still waiting on it from 600.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That old chestnut. So then you in what, 3 weeks you're going back as a B camera operator?
2
weeks, whatever
2
it is.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that'll be 5 straight months of B camera operating, right?
Yeah.
And most likely the way that show works, moving up to A camera on second unit.
I think
Now
that's been discussed.
I would bet.
I got called by the UPM, and
Yeah,
that's what she said. She said I would be doing.
that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
how does your mentality change? Like, is your mentality changed now that you're like, okay, I'm going in as a camera operator? Because before it was like there was the bump up and I got to prove it and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's kind of for me right back to I got to prove it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got asked back, and that was great. And it's great to finish a show and then for somebody to say, "Hey, we want you to come back and do another season." I think that says a lot to other
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
of like, oh, they wouldn't have asked him back if he sucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as it's approaching, I'm like, okay, this is really important. And you can't just walk in like it's the last season, because it's not. You got to come in and be showing more effort. People want to see that I've improved. Can't let those people down.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to do a camera, like I have to bring that same intensity. I have to, it's almost like I'm less comfortable than when we ended the show.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Just because
now you have something to prove?
Well, I had been in the groove at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And I think, coming back with mostly the same people, but you're kind of a little bit on autopilot towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of been washed away, and everybody has now made another decision.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to prove that that was the right decision.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, yeah. And so is there anything specifically that you're trying to work on that you're like, I need to get better at this, I need to get better at that?
Communication, patience, and not allowing other people's mood to affect my mood.
Yeah, well, that's probably across the board, I think. But yeah. I hear you.
Because I just, being cognizant of that, especially when the pressure's on, it's just like, be yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have to amp up with everybody else.
Yeah.
And sometimes everyone else is looking for that saving grace, or that person who's not amped up to calm them down.
Someone to like let the pressure out of the room or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
So
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. But so closing out, someone who's starting out as a B camera operator, jumping into B, what's your advice to them?
Communicate with your A camera guy. I mean, that's going to be your best friend. And if you're having issues with that person, pull them aside, have a conversation at wrap, see what you can do better. Because at the end of the day, if they're not happy with your work, you're not going to get good work no matter what. And so I kind of look at the operators as kind of like athletes. And the sport we're playing is assembling the cut, assembling the pieces for the cut. And like getting those shots is a performance. And your attitude on set, your communication on set is part of that performance. And every day you show up, you have to perform to the highest level. And so if you're not playing well with your teammates, you're not going to have a good performance. And so making sure that you are on the same team as your A guy or your B guy, if you're coming in on C, that you're fitting into the role that you're supposed to play, that you're the role player. You're not always going to be the star of the show. You're not always going to be LeBron James, but sometimes you're going to be a guy coming off the bench and they need you to hit those 2 shots. And so just having the right attitude, making sure you're working well with the people on your team, making sure that, and I see this a lot with new ops. Everybody deals with pressure differently. Just don't be the person who takes that out on your team. Like, you are a manager, you're a leader, and you're getting paid as such. The people below you are not making as much as you. They don't have those responsibilities, and it's not fair for you to be upset with them because the team didn't perform. If you are having issues, it's up to you to address those as a manager. It's up to you to put your people in the right position to succeed. And, you burn yourself really quick if your assistants start not liking you, because those are the people who are gonna, that's the pillar in which your success is built on. So just making sure you're communicating with them correctly, you're being respectful towards them, you're being mindful that they're human beings with families and personal issues that are going on. You're being mindful that no matter how much this artistic endeavor touches your soul personally, that you are at work and this is a job people are doing, is going to help a lot. And those are kind of my mantras for being a leader and operating and coming in every day, is just making sure you're taking care of your crew, because they'll take care of you in return.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.